related to Warhammer, I gotta transition to this. This is the perfect segue. So these are $5 Amazons. Okay, these are my snips. I have
Yeah.
built 2 Blood Bowl teams, going on 3 Blood Bowl teams. We'll call it 4 AOS armies because LON kind of twice now. SBG, you know, but SBG is more like half of an army again. But between the LON stuff I built and what I built with SBG, we'll call it 2 armies. All like the whole range of Ossiarch Bone Reapers, like everything. So well into redundancy, 3,000, 4,000 points. Beasts of Chaos. So like 4 solid armies, right? 2 Blood Bowl teams. Still going strong.
Well, I mean, you're cutting plastic. It's
$5. It doesn't stop me from wanting $100 God Hand snips any less, though. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
my gosh. I got just one of those cheap little boxes from Amazon that is advertised as a Gunpla building kit.
Yeah.
And I just carried it over because I did one Gunpla one time and was like, now what? I built it. It's just these lame colors.
Wow. Well, apparently you can paint them, but they
You can, yeah,
they
you
come
can paint anything.
sure. But they're that's the thing about Gunpla is Gunpla are like they're mobile, right? Like mobile. So
Yeah.
they articulate. They have like articulating parts, and so painting feels like that would inherently.
Yeah, like you'd probably scrape it away on all the joints. I don't know. I've seen people do it, and I even started this was part of like the journey back because I was like, when I first finished the hit game wonShot, it it I was like, okay, I need something else to do with my time because this was taking up so much of my time before. That was my free time. So I'm like, I just need to do something. Okay, what about this Gunpla? Okay, that's nice. That's relaxing. I made one. Ah, that's so zen. I love it.
Yeah.
Now I've got this thing. I
Yeah.
don't like the color. Maybe I'll buy some paint. And then in the back of my head, I went, wait a minute. At this point, you're just doing Warhammer. Just buy some Warhammer.
That's a fantastic.
And then I did it.
No, it's fantastic. I love that. I love that. What a great cold open that was. It was the perfect cold open. I see Chat Gang showing up. We got Frank on the rocks dropping a prime sub for 28 years. 28 years. That sub is old enough to buy a funeral plot. You got to be 25 for a funeral plot in America. And TKT.
How do you know that?
Yeah, I know. Dropping in with 21 years of support for the stream with a Twitch Prime as well. That sub is now legal to drink in the USA. So, what is the age of drinking in Canada? Like 5, 6, something like that. Well, as soon as you're old enough to hold an axe and go out and become a lumberjack, because I just assume everyone in Canada is a lumberjack. That's like the only career there is in Canada, or like a maple syrup farmer, where like you go out and like. But that's adjacent to lumberjacking because you have to like cork the trees instead of like axe them. Maybe.
It's tree adjacent. We have a weird dichotomy about how we feel about Canadians, right? You either think they're like lumberjacks, or if the conversation needs to go a different way, you say like, oh, they're all a bunch of liberals with their free healthcare, mooching off their government.
Yeah. Man, you're gonna make me
with
go
their
like
nice European cities.
You're gonna make me go like rare form early. Like usually I try to keep it on the down low that I'm a dirty leftist. Like until like that's the rub is like I usually don't go on my anti-capitalist like
you usually assume
until
a
like
Warhammer person
1 or 2 hours in. But like man,
I'm just talking about Canada, man.
I wish we were liberal. Like we're not even liberal though. Like we're neoliberal, but like we're not even like the barest minimum. We have 2 conservative parties in the United States. It's actually kind of shitty.
Yeah, I know. I'm from Europe.
Really?
So I know.
So like I wasn't.
Well, I guess not anymore. Technically, not from Europe.
Yeah.
Because it's the United Kingdom is no longer Europe.
Yeah, they Brexited, right? Like...
yeah, reunited.
All right, what is up? What is up, chat gang? I am, of course, the magical Mr. Mephisto, the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar, your loquacious Lich King. Man, usually I nail that.
That's kind of like ironic.
Yeah.
That you said loquacious, then
yeah,
loquacious
Lich King. leading you on a journey through all the adjacent topics of this fantastic hobby we call Warhammer. This is, of course, episode 120 of AOS RantCast. I am joined tonight by the developer of soon-to-be award-winning game wonShot, Alessandro, known in chat gang as Roibos. How's it going, my friend?
Good.
Good.
How about you?
I'm not bad. I'm adjusting to my new normal, as it were.
That phrase "new normal" doesn't mean anything
I
anymore.
hate it.
We heard it so much over the past year.
Didn't it get ruined like all of 2020?
Yeah, it got ruined.
The Quiche King Mephisto. There were Quiche King. Quiche is fucking delicious. Real men eat quiche. That's the name of a book. You can look it up. They're closer.
I need to jot all these things down.
Yeah, good. Fact check me on everything. Keep me honest. They're closer to figures, so paint don't work so good, says Frank. Of course, Frank would know Gunpla. And fluctuates every second from province, from 18 to 19. Not a joke. Makes sense. I mean, that seems about Canada 19. Yeah, that makes sense. Chat gang. I see Domir's showing up. I see Otorius showing up. Otorius and I actually had like a fantastic conversation the other night on one of my like show streams, you know. A little bit different format when I'm doing a chat when I'm doing
Mephisto After Dark.
Cast. Yeah, Mephisto After Dark, yeah. The most dangerous After Dark show. Sounds like a bad book. How many opportunities do you get with that shot? One of them. You get
literally
one. You get one of them.
One shot, one opportunity. Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti.
I don't know the rest of it.
All I know is really mom spaghetti. Like,
yeah.
Because the meme just like completely overtook. It's to the point where my non gigantic nerd partner is just like indoctrinated accidentally into like nerd shit. Part of the reason the show is late tonight is I had to like fuck with the clock for her for Animal Crossing. Like, so like you can't mess with the clock if your parental controls are on, because of course I have parental controls on because I have 2 kids, and so it won't let you mess with the clock. So I had to like disable the parental controls, manipulate with the clock, let her do her like dailies, manipulate the clock back, get the kids to bed like in between her like doing quests. It's always funny like
That's
the games
modern life,
play.
right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I guess that is a normie game.
Yeah, isn't it? Like,
I guess it can devolve. It can. Well, I guess it's not. You'd argue that if you can't win it, it's not a game. But I don't know. I feel like you could get lost in it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be like you'd be sweaty about it, but like you could waste a lot of time. Not that normies don't waste time too.
Right. Well, I mean that's an interesting. I think that in and of itself is like an interesting sort of thing to ponder. It comes up every now and then. 120 episodes in AOS RantCast, and I try to treat every episode like it's somebody's first episode. Like, this is the first time somebody's going to be watching this show. So maybe not everyone knows that I used to do games journalism. Like, before I was the most dangerous man in Warhammer, I was the most unknown journalist on Kotaku.
Oh, on the real Kotaku?
Prior to them being bought out by the same company that bought like One-Up and like everything.
Oh yeah.
You know. So they were still.
I forgot.
Yeah, I can't remember. They were like They were kind of like the HuffPo of video game journalism, in that like all they really had was contributor journalists. You didn't really like. There weren't really like. There were some staff writers, but it was really just like about getting your stuff approved, kind of like a Wikipedia page, kind of like a Huffington Post style thing.
Sure.
Getting paid in exposure, and so on and so forth. And so I kind of started out there, and I, like a fool, like had like one successful article. It was called the best movie sequels, a game you never played. I think was like the title of it, something along those lines. It was about The Thing for PS2. And it might have been on Xbox as well. Might have been on PC.
That's a really Kotaku article.
Isn't it?
Title
Like,
too.
so hipster. Like, Kotaku was like...
You were really writing in the voice of Kotaku.
Oh, I was in there. Yeah, yeah. No, I was great. It sucks. If I had stuck around like 1 or 2 more years, I would have got press credentials and everything. Like, like always taking the harder path
could
to
have gone.
success. Yeah,
You could have gone to all those game conventions.
PAX.
Oh wait, all those are canceled.
Well, now
Are there?
no. But the story of Mephisto is a man who's taken the harder path his entire life. But no. Yeah. So I wrote that article is about like the thing, and I stand by what I said in that article, even though I can't remember or find it. That the thing for the PlayStation 2 was the perfect movie sequel. It's fantastic. I rate it still. Go check it out. It's fantastic. But like, God, I was full of myself with video games. And, I spent a long time. I got into Justin TV under a different name, Leetgeist, actually, 1337, because Leetspeak was still cool. No, it was.
So that was like 2006.
A while back, yeah.
I'm trying to think of when Leetspeak expired.
When did it run out?
Thing.
Yeah. The joke, I assure you, was old by the time I made it, because that's my sense of humor. And then Justin TV transitioned to Twitch, and so I doing the variety streamer stuff, making a partner push. You'll notice that like the oldest subscribers on my channel are about as old as the affiliate program is, which isn't a mark of my ego. This is not a pride thing. This is actually a shame thing, because you won't see many affiliates with 50-month-long subscribers because they're partner by now.
Good point.
Point is, I've been doing this a long time, and video games have always kind of been one of these video games have always been like a huge part of the journey for me. But they're always something I kind of do by myself. There's something, especially after I got out of games journalism, I didn't really like. If I had 5 people in a room, I'd want to play a tabletop RPG. If I have 2 people in a room, I'd want to play Warhammer. If I'm by myself, I play a video game. Is the best way I can really describe it. Like, and so getting a chance to do this episode tonight is really awesome because, fuck man, you designed a game, and I want to give you officially the first ever RantCast Video Game Award. Okay, so I've established my credentials as a games journalist. Previously, talked about my tenure in the video game scene. So I want you to have the most prestigious video game award in the Warhammer community. Okay.
Does it come with like a little
I will get you
JPEG?
a tiny
JPEG
like
I can
an
put
NFT.
on
I'll send you an NFT or something.
Send me the blockchain or whatever you do there.
No,
I can put it on the Steam page.
I'll get you I'll send you a tiny trophy, and the JPEG will be a photograph of that trophy. You think I'm fucking with you right now? I'm being sincere. So I'm gonna make this a meme. This is gonna be a real thing. Hey, memes got me all the way into running like an amazing charity event. So like,
memes
never underestimate the power of the meme. Yeah, the meme is powerful. So the first ever like RantCast Video Game Award goes to wonShot. This is the inaugural year of the award. You were the first one to win it. It is yours for wonShot.
Please hold the applause. I didn't get here myself. Oh wait, I did. Made it all. Well, except for those random marketplace assets I purchased.
Right. Well, I mean,
but I purchased those, so therefore.
So now that I've officially awarded you the first ever, like, AOS RantCast Video Game Award, the most prestigious video game award in Warhammer. See, that's funny because there's probably like not another award, so I'm like technically
so you
correct.
Can say that.
Yeah, I'm technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
And now you get to say that you have an award-winning game.
The funny thing is, funny story, I made another game by myself before this that was horrendous. It was really bad. Like, it barely functioned. And I sent that to Dreamhack. You know what Dreamhack is?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, go ahead. Well, you explain it for the casuals in this stream. Yeah.
Dreamhack, I believe, is mostly like an esports thing, but they have Dreamhack conventions that also are full-on conventions, and the esports is part of it. So they had one in Dallas, and I was like, oh, neat. I'll submit this horrible, barely functioning piece of junk game I made. and they gave it an award for best casual game because there were no other casual games, because this was like a convention for people who wanted to play Call of Duty. So I had a booth there, and I didn't want to spend any money on anything for this booth. So it was like a monitor and some like business cards I printed out and a phone that had the game on it because it was a mobile game. And I just spent most of the time. It was basically like I just got in the convention for free. I just wandered off and didn't even like try and advertise it at all because I was like, whatever. There's a card on the table. There's a QR code you can scan if you want it.
You've basically described two components of my video game career. One is getting into conventions for free by basically just lowest effort I possibly can into doing something to get into the convention for free. But also I have two specific instances of working on video games. One was a game jam. You read it, like you can just get together people's talent, blah blah. We made a mobile card game. It was garbage, absolute trash. It was just an RNG thing. Like your deck was an RNG, and then there was card text, and like it really didn't even matter what the cards said on their text. They just, because the RNG just like won. It was the most basic thing ever. It was basically a visual interface, 2 dimensions, text. It was really straightforward. It was I don't know, it was functional, and so we were very proud of it.
I mean, if you're at that point, you've gotten further than 99.9% of the population.
Right, and
you made a thing, and it worked.
And the game we were working on, so 2 of us from that game jam went on to make like a real game, quote unquote. After that, we were using Python. We had a actual. I'm going to tell the story so that we can kind of like contextualize it with what it means exactly for you to have done everything with wonShot. Okay, so we actually had a pixel artist, which was a separate artist from our animator. Okay, and then we had me, who was the script and on the script writer and the design doc side of things, and then we had like a coder. So we had 4 people, and then we had a 5th person who was sort of like an overarching. My dogs have not shut up for the last. We've been live for 19 minutes, 15 minutes.
I can't even hear them, so
good.
You got some good noise canceling.
Good noise canceling going on here. So someone's gonna pick it up on the podcast and like just get mad at me. So we had like 5 people work on this game, and we were trying to get it to the indie DevCon that happens in November. Tim Schafer's known for plugging it a lot. It was a November thing. We were trying to we started it like about around this time, and we were trying to like sort of grind out this game and get it to that. Essentially, we just wanted to have like enough for like a playable demo and a teaser trailer to market it, right?
Sure.
And the whole project fell apart. Our pixel artist had like a mental health breakdown and ended up, she had to check herself into a hospital. Our coder decided that he wanted to go back to Full Sail University, and like,
oh no.
Yeah, I know. And the producer decided he wanted to go and work on another friend's project that was a little bit further down the line in getting finished. And so I had like a finished script. And I don't mean like coding script. I mean like a game script. It was kind of an RPG style. I had a finished script that I had like.
When you say script, do you mean like script of all the dialogue?
Or all
script as in
yeah. So I had to
like
research.
A walkthrough.
Yeah, I had to research. So the design document was more the walkthrough of the I learned a trick for video game sort of programming design from Naughty Dog, and how they essentially wrote in an Excel spreadsheet for their sort of decision trees. And so I copied that from what I had seen, and so that's how I copied like the decision points in the game, and then I had written the dialogue script sort of separately, with my knowledge of film scripts and writing, which is what I'm trained in. Not so much film something I had to learn separately, but I'm trained as a writer. So I had to like do that, and I incorporated those things, and so I had like this huge like chunk of just information done. This whole story that I'd been hired to write. I think $200 bucks is what I was paid as a retainer, and then we were all going to share in like sort of equal share of the profits. after like it went to market or whatever or
Can
whatever.
can I tell you something?
Go ahead. Yeah. Jump in here
You
anytime.
you made this. You made more money than I did.
Well,
When I sat down and really did the math on other things that I forgot about, and you made more money than me.
I bought Molly a food I bought Molly for Christmas that year. I bought her a KitchenAid stand mixer with the money I made off of it. So,
That's very sweet.
yeah.
And then with the money that was left over,
No, that
you
was
got
it.
some new models.
It was like $200.
That's true. Those things are pretty pricey. One
Yeah.
of those like nice red ones.
Yeah, this one's like the special silver you can't find anymore. So there's like they have like their chrome model and they have like their smoke model or whatever. It's like the smoke
Okay,
model. Yeah.
I thought you meant it was made from a type of silver that you can't find anymore.
No,
Not that
so
they don't make the silver one
no,
anymore.
no,
It's like, damn.
no. So like I shared my experience, and that basically broke me. Like that, like because for once, like I'm notoriously bad at not finishing my writing projects. Um, asterisk ADHD rant incoming later down on in the show. Um, but like, for once I had actually finished the thing because working in a structure and like it wasn't my project, it was somebody else's project I was hired to work on. Like really helped me stay on task and like just grind. And I basically sacrificed like this huge chunk of my existence because I work a job that pays the bills too, right? Like I have to go and work
Sure.
my full-time job, and so like any extra moment was spent not putting my kids to bed, not hanging out with my partner, not playing video games myself, which I enjoyed doing, not playing Warhammer, not doing anything of substance, just working on this. I disappeared. I ghosted everyone I knew for about a 9-month span.
Yep, that sounds very familiar.
And I didn't even get something finished that I can put my name on because my dream at the end of this was like I take my like cha-ching and I every 10 years I get like a royalty check for like 25 cents or whatever the minimum payout is, for this game that I've forgotten I had worked on, but I have this credit and I can go tell people to go play that and read the dialogue in that game and be impressed by how great of a writer I am. I didn't even get there.
I mean, that's the rule rather than the exception, I would say, for video game related endeavors, because video games, I don't know if anyone knows this, they're really, really hard to make.
Well, and this is where I'm going with. I tell that whole story to say, like, I kind of saw you around Halo's Discord. You hung out in chat gang a little bit too, and you said like, "Hey, I got a game." I'm like, "What? $5 on Steam?" I think it. $5, 10. What is it? What's its price point at right now? Do
It's
you know?
$5. Right now, I think it's $1 unless the Lunar New Year's Steam sale ended.
Yeah,
it might still be $1.
like chat gang, all of you right now. It's called wonShot. Okay, I'm gonna give away a couple copies here tonight. Out of my
I got some codes. I'll dump some codes
You'll
in the chat.
dump some
Probably.
codes. All right, we're gonna give away some copies here, but go pay this man for his video game. I didn't give him the award arbitrarily. I saw you around like Halo's things. You said you had this video game made, and I'm like, fuck, man, it's $5 on Steam. I'll go buy it. Like, just whatever, $5. Like if like whenever I get my Twitch payout, I'm notoriously bad with money because it's just like $100 of like goes to random people's coffee, random charity things that I just happen to see in my Twitter feed, and like random impulse Steam games. That's literally what it gets spent on. Every now and then I have some discipline and I'm able to save it for a box of models. Sometimes I buy wrestling
it's the
t-shirts.
fun money.
Yeah, that's it. That's my disposable income. That's all it is. That's
Yeah.
all that it's the disposable income. And so I'm like, yeah, fuck, $5. I'll buy it. I'll play it on stream one time as a gag, and like it'll be fun in and of itself, right? I played it and it was legit good. And I don't make a habit of blowing smoke up people's asses. As my limited experience of almost being broken by trying to make a video game. Again, the smallest scale possible that one could possibly engage in making a video game. I have nothing but respect and appreciation for what you made. By your fucking self.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your appreciation. But you know what? I think to be totally honest and kind of open about how I feel about the game, I think people really only like it and say really good things about it if they know that context, right? Like some Joe Schmo coming across it because it's $1 and then playing it is gonna be like, oh, what is this? Okay, yeah, you shoot the things. All right, it's kind of cool. Thumbs down. Wouldn't recommend. Uh,
Well,
but if it's someone who's like who gets all the way to the end and sees one name in the credits, they might be like, oh dang.
to be fair, like part of the thing that really did kind of hammer it home was getting to the credits and seeing it was just your name. And just being like that did blow my mind. But it wasn't like I was already like playing it and you had actually kind of undersold it. You're like this is a one mechanic game. And I was like, oh, okay. Like and I thought immediately about that card game. I'm like, yeah, we have a one mechanic card game. It's just it's literally a D100 roll. Sorts your deck at the beginning, and then you're just like you've got a hand of 5, and like the cards just interact really directly, you know. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, this is what I'm gonna. And you fucking lied to me because you added like other physics in it. So like,
sure.
like like around the time
There's
I get that
okay.
magnet gun, I'm like this fucking liar.
Okay. I should rephrase my pitch then. It's a one gimmick game.
Okay.
Cuz I mean, if you want to be really fast and loose about what a mechanic is, the mechanic is you blow things up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you, and you just get thrown some different tools to complete said mechanic.
So I feel like I've put the horse before the cart just a little bit, but I do wanna stress that like when I was playing through your game, um, like and I thought maybe you had like a pixel artist like what we had, you know, because pixel art is if anyone who's on the Twitch platform right now will know that there is an entire business right now of buying art from pixel artists for your emojis and stuff for your Twitch affiliates for your little um
Really? I need
yes
to get in on that.
yes you do like pixel art for like emojis and stuff like that it's this whole like microcosm micro business that
Yeah.
exists, you know. Not everyone can sit there in on like a 28 by 28 or 128 by 128 grid and make something that looks even remotely like a person, you know,
It's hard.
let alone like I've got a couple of your characters here, distinctive, completely different like people. Here, I can actually pull up all three at the same time. Boom, look at that.
Yeah, because they're small, they'll fit on a
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, look at all three of them right
It's
there.
I mean, it's very similar to what we do in our hobby, right? You're trying to make a tiny little thing look distinct in some way, and you do it with the right colors because you have like what, like 120 little squares you can
Hmm.
color in. So you better pick some colors that pop.
Yeah. Yeah, like 128, I think it's 128 by 128. Like it's
Well, those are blown up ones because now when you look at that, one of those squares is actually going to be like 5 pixels. When I made them, I think they're 32 by 32.
yeah. I
And
mean,
then I just blow them up 128 so that you can see them at all. Otherwise, it would be
yeah.
otherwise it'd be about that big on your screen right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing is like you had made this game from top to bottom. And it wasn't like I was playing a game that I thought like whilst I was playing it, I outlined at the beginning of the show I spent way too much time talking about the Kotaku stuff to point out how cynical I have become about video games. Like I don't enjoy them on the same level anymore. I have been ruined for that forever. Um, you know, it's just the elitism, the snobbiness. What even is a casual game versus a real hardcore game? There's a whole conversation to be had there down the line, right? Like there's just that's a separate show. Because I think spoilers, it's all made up.
Yeah.
Um, it's all online posturing bullshit. I guess that's the show. I've finished the show on what a casual game is versus a not casual game. But it did like this elitism, all these kind of things like kind of happen that just again poisoned me a little bit for video games. And I was playing your game, and the most magical thing happened, which was I was having fun. I had turned on my stream, I was gonna play the game by myself in a vacuum because my show goes live, and if it's a non-rantcast night, I have maybe 3 to 5 people show up on my show. If I'm playing a video game, just arbitrarily, pretty much nobody shows up. Hades shows up if it's awake time in Australia, and if I'm doing hobby, I get like 10 to 50 people watching me. If I'm doing rantcast, I get about 10 to 50.
Sure.
So I'm just playing this random game, and I'm like, I know, I'm just gonna turn this on. I saw you had a daily challenge in it, so I did the daily challenge. Totally crushed it, by the way, that day.
You found the one broken one too. I had to go fix that.
There's the good night to
I
you,
think
King.
you were only second though.
No, I was number one. You sent me.
Oh, okay.
I no, I was
Oh,
number
that's right.
42,000 or something like that. I was like so proud of that. Or 45,000. I did $45,000 in damage. So proud. So I did the daily thing, and then I was like playing the actual game, and I'm like, I'm just gonna like play this a little bit, and then I'm gonna switch over to, I think Disco Elysium's been the game I've been playing through. I'm gonna play this for a little bit. Then I'm gonna switch over to Disco Elysium. 3 hours later, I'd beaten the game. Like I couldn't stop playing. It was this like, I know that you didn't necessarily describe it as this way yourself, but for me it read like this old school arcade sensibility. Like the asteroids, the Space Invaders, the fucking Lander. What the fuck was that game called?
Moonlander?
Moonlander. Yeah, like it had that like that clickability, old school, like sort of fuck. Diablo has this vibe. Diablo, for all intents and purposes, well, not Diablo 3, but Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 is like a one-button serotonin, like just a pure dopamine hit. Every time you're left-clicking, you're getting dopamine.
Yeah, and that's 100% how I designed it, right? Where it's like, I just want to press a button and see how hype I can make it for you to just click a button.
Yeah.
And then just crank that hype to 11 and see if I can carry an entire game on it. And I think for the most part it worked.
Like I said, 3 hours later, I had
yeah.
I had all 99 levels, which is super super classic and kitschy.
I know, yeah. I had to do that.
I know, but that's the thing, is like that old school gamer sensibility. Like you said something early on where people didn't play it through to the end to see it's one name in the credits, right? And they maybe don't have that appreciation. And I disagree a little bit, because like, whilst it did blow my mind, the minute I found out that just you worked on this, I'm like, I got to talk to you we got to do this show. But for me, it was like I could feel like a passion or a like again that like gamer sensibility coming through.
Side and join me in
my
me?
Patreon notification just went off, which means all my Patreon notifications are about to go off in a row. So we're gonna have 15 Dracula gifs pop up in a row, because I think that's as many Patreon subscribers as I have. No, it was the old school like gamer appreciation sensibilities. Like the person who follows their mom to the laundromat and has just like the quarters they fished out the couch, or like the couple they can steal from their mom without them getting mad at them, or like the two you could find that somebody didn't quite all the way jam through and they thought the machine broke, and you could and that's your pool of quarters you got for the night, right? And then you go and play whatever like 3 arcade games are in there, and you kind of gravitate towards the one where you get the most bang for your buck out of the quarter. And like whilst I was playing wonShot, I was transported to the laundromat with my mom.
That's the hope. And how awesome would it be to have an arcade cabinet with wonShot on it? That's the
That
Kickstarter.
would be metal as hell. Yes,
that's the Kickstarter.
Yeah, like get a Raspberry Pi machine, build a cabinet, like throw wonShot on it. Would you go?
Have people come to my garage?
Yeah.
And press the button.
So, I've spent enough time sort of talking around my personal experience, and just to kind of frame this all. But now I want to kind of pass it on over to you and say, you mentioned you worked on a game before. You got the Dreamhack on it. You won an award on it. Yada yada yada.
Award.
I felt well now you've won an award for this game. I'll send you
This is the real award.
This is the real award. This is the substantial one. Well, like, where did the idea for wonShot go? Like, you'd already worked on one game before. You mentioned we were kind of relating on like how you kind of disappeared for some time to just kind of work on the game. So, are you a designer by education, by trade? Is this a passion project? Let's start there. How did you get into game design?
So I'm thinking of how far to go back. I was a young
As far
lad.
back as it is interesting, really. Yeah.
So I finished college and got a degree in psychology. And then I kind of was sitting around. It was in 2008, so no one could get any jobs doing anything. So I was like, okay, I'll just hang around and play Monster Hunter for like 4 months. And then I moved to Dallas and moved in with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And I was like, maybe I should go back to school or something. That would probably be cool. Figure out how to do something else. And then I saw like, oh, you can go to school to learn how to make video games. That would be rad.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that. So I got a master's degree in arts and technology, which was how they dressed it up to make it sound like a real degree.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a degree to make video games. And then I ended up working for a company that makes VR. So I did a lot of work in VR. And it was a lot of like enterprise kind of work, a lot of work for hire things in virtual reality. So it was neat. It was VR, but it was a lot of like, I wanted to make my own thing. And then at that company, I pitched them a game and we made that game. And then after we made that game, we sort of went back to doing enterprise stuff. And I was like, man, I want to keep making games.
Yeah.
I want to, and then we did start there was still a little bit of a video game thing, but I was like, man, that was so awesome when it was my idea that I was making. I'm just going to go make my ideas at home.
Really?
So then wonShot happened, which was, you mentioned game jams. It started as a game jam.
Yeah.
It was the Unreal game jam, and the prompt was make it count. And I sat and thought about that, had some late nights, and I was like, okay, hey, wouldn't that be cool if it was like Asteroids or Missile Command?
Yeah, Missile Command.
But you could only shoot it once.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it all came together. I had just had my first kid, so I had no time to do stuff. So this is when I got really, really good at knowing exactly what I was going to do that night. Spend all day, the back of my brain is figuring out, this is exactly how you're going to program this. This is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to make this, and this. You've got an hour. As soon as the kid goes to sleep, run to the computer, do it, and then go to bed. So that was my routine for a long time.
So you're like your wife's like, here, burp the baby, and you're like burping the baby, and you're like, later on I'm gonna go program the shit out of this, and like you're just
yeah, it became a thing where it was taking up a lot of my headspace. Which, I mean, your passion projects do.
Right.
It probably ended up taking a little bit too much headspace, and I took a hiatus from it at some point because it was like, all right, I'm a little bit too into this. I need to take a few steps back and actually be more of a dad and a husband for a bit.
I understand that
because I'm being kind of a jerk. I don't know if it really got to the point where anyone considered me a huge jerk, but
you felt it
in my
right?
mind. I was like, okay, I'm being a little bit uncool here.
Yeah.
So I took a break from it, and then I kind of ditched it. But then one day, there was a Twitter account called Unreal Engine Memes that I followed. It's the most niche thing probably on the entire internet. Memes about a game engine I work in. And they say, oh, I'm going to do a stream of like people who've made Unreal Engine games. Send me yours. And then I sent it to this person. And she was like, "Oh, this is dope. Oh yeah, hey, when are you gonna finish this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, when am I gonna finish that?"
Yeah.
So then I sat down and got a little bit more responsible about time taken on it, and eventually finished it
How
in December last year.
December last year? How long, all in, like sort of like man hours or work hours did you put into it? Do you think?
I would say, I mean, altogether was about like 9 months of working on like nights and weekends, but probably like an hour a day. So if this was something I was just doing, like if I don't know, if I didn't have a job and I
Mm-hmm.
just sat and did this, it probably would have taken 3 months. But
That's always one of the
that's not.
it's always one of the sad things about like passion projects is because the reality is, and this is for Warhammer too, like, we all have like lives and jobs and stuff besides that we must do, right?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of carving out that extra time for this other thing. Was there any, because you kind of mentioned sort of like two methods. One where you were kind of like all in, it was maybe the irresponsible amount of encroachment on your life, and then like maybe one with a little bit more balance. Was there anything that you like learned for a better balance, or was it just like I got to grind to get it done? Like how did you? I guess how did that compartmentalization sort of change between before the hiatus and then after the hiatus?
It was just really limiting the time, right? Because like you can really get hyper focused on things.
Oh yeah.
Like that's just how it happens. And you start working on something, and then you look at the clock, and it's been 3 hours. I was just a lot more cognizant of just do an hour, do an hour, because the kids gotta go to sleep, kids gotta eat.
Yeah.
You gotta wake up in the morning. But then when COVID happened was when I was able to put a little more time into it, just because I'm working at home.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
was lucky enough to be able to work at home, and there was a brief period where they're like, "Hey, we're not telling you that your job's in trouble or anything, but maybe like use your vacation time for now, so it doesn't look like you're not doing anything."
Mm.
I'm sure a lot of people experience that kind of situation where it's like things slow down for everyone. And I was able to just kind of use some of that time to really push it out the door, because I was like, all right, let me just finish this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been going on a while. Let's finish it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's pretty awesome, and sort of being able to get that, like, it's weird because like I'm starting to think of like COVID lockdown as like the tale of two cities, like best of times, worst of times, because I do think
Yeah,
it's given us more of like the bad of it all is approaching 1 million people dead in the U.S. and all kinds of like horrible stuff, but I think
that's
we're
kind of been my refrain about it too, where it's like whenever you say something good happened because of COVID, and you say, but
yeah.
if I could take that back and not have a million people die,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd keep going to the office if a million people didn't
Right.
die.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like it's but like I think people did in a sort of roundabout way. I don't think in any direct way learn how precious their lives are a little bit. Like on a direct level, like how much of at the end of my personal life, I'm not going to be standing on the precipice overlooking it all, holding on to the Grim Reaper's apron, staring back on everything, and think, man, I wish I had worked more hours and seen my family less, but made more money. Like I'm going to look back on it and hope I had spent enough meaningful time with the people I love and made things I enjoyed. And
Yeah.
I think that in a micro, like sort of a microcosm, that for the people who are particularly thoughtful, perhaps COVID-19 was a time to reflect on that. That's why I do think you're seeing a little bit of a surge in the labor movement these days. And boom, there we go. We got there. You got the lefty rant out of me a little bit later on. Where I do think that people are taking stock of their lives and going like, do I really have to go to the office for this job? You know, all the data on the side of it is like you get about 4 productive hours a day. That's the data. And you know, the American worker is more productive than it has ever been since the Industrial Revolution. Like if we can chart this shit. You know, it's just a steady line going up this way. You know, it ebbs and flows, but that's what a trend means. And it's just to look at it and be like, no, like, you know, you work to live, you don't live to work. And to really take stock of that and what does this mean in my life? You know, we've looked at more people than at any other point in history have switched careers now. Like a lot of stuff's going on because of this time that we've just sort of had to reflect and learn what work really meant with our lives. I think that's a good thing. I wish 1 million people hadn't died to figure it out.
Yeah, that's the real tragedy of it.
But
anyway,
yeah, fucking bummer there.
We somehow made it into a downer.
Yeah, damn. No, that's my fault. That's me. I sort of avoided a question earlier about how I was doing, and I'm like, the meds that I'm on these days are, we'll see. No, you went with Unreal Engine. Was it just because the like sort of viral memes in the internet and the game jam, or
No.
or did you have like because Python's one of the ones that I see like really really big for game design right now, especially indie game design. Why'd you make the decision to go Unreal? Was there something else you were thinking about going into? Look at that hard pivot, by the way, from like the downer into like technical.
Well, here's the reason. If you don't know how to program, you can still use Unreal. You use visual scripting. You do not have to type anything. I did not type a single line of code.
Interesting.
You can 100% use Blueprint visual scripting. And that's going to roll into one of these things I wrote down as a point to get across, is that anyone listening or watching, there's nothing stopping you from making a video game right now. If you have an idea and you have a computer, you can make a video game. Like Unreal Engine, it's free. You don't have to know programming. You have to figure out how Blueprint works, and that's like some programming logic. But if you don't know C# or C++ or whatever, what have you, I think Unity uses Java as well for some things. Anyway, you can totally survive without it. If it goes beyond what you need, there's something you can cut and paste from some forum somewhere.
So what you're saying is kind of like the WordPress of it's kind of like the WordPress of game design.
I mean, I don't want to dumb it down that much, but it's more in that direction. Like it's still like programming logic, and there's still complexity to it. And if in doing it, you will learn a lot of programming logic, but it's just not typing it all out. It's something you can see visually. You see the connecting strands and even like when you hit go, like it lights up and it's like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing, but it's not working. You broke something. So it's sort of like, to bring it to like a writing thing. What was that thing? Twine? It's a little bit like Twine, which is like it's almost like a choose your own adventure maker that is like a huge bunch of branching paths.
Okay, yeah.
It's almost like, it's like if you built your own choose your own adventure. But yeah, so I mean, and it's free. Unreal Engine is free.
Well,
anyone
free
can,
with an asterisk, right?
Sure,
it's free up
but
until
it's
you
an
make
asterisk.
a certain amount.
Sure, it's free up until you make some amount that you will not make.
As an
Don't worry,
developer.
Yeah, you in your bedroom on your computer will not make what that threshold is. Don't worry. Just don't go into this thinking you'll make money, because that's a fool's errand.
Well, that's part of the passion project plight, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I made a couple $100. I guess technically it made gross a couple $100, but you have to pay $100 to get on Steam. You got to pay for things along the way.
You had to pay for your music in particular.
Yeah, if you want to save yourself some time, it's like I've heard Halo bring this up a lot of times where it's like
The
I'm
production
sure
triangle.
it's the production triangle, which is like, oh yeah, okay, that's exactly it. So I went all the way to cheap. So it took forever.
Yeah.
But it was okay.
I
But
don't
yeah, I mean,
downplay it. I think it's a very solid game. I think it's like they used to have the green light program with Steam. This would have like 1,000% made it out of that and like just crushed it.
oh
I
yeah.
think.
I'm glad they got rid of Greenlight though, because it just got flooded with garbage.
Garbage. Yeah.
Absolute
and
trash.
it got exploited, and
Yeah.
as any sometimes good thing that's that laissez-faire, it just the shitlords ruin it on the internet.
Yeah. But they, at the same time, it now is just like, well, whatever. You can just put your game on Steam. There's no more green lighting. It's just whatever. Give us $100 and you're on Steam.
Yeah.
So now they have to, after the fact, curate. So it's this weird thing where like you have to prove you're a real game after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they won't put you into certain searches. You won't be in the same kind of. You won't be in the algorithm the same way. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about that. Maybe I'm not supposed to say
probably have
that.
an NDA. I don't know.
I don't know what any of it is, but you already know if you look at Steam, some games have trading cards and some don't. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say, and you're not saying it, but if you have downloaded wonShot, you should. By the way, and you should play it. It really is a lot of fun. The best way I can describe it is it's just instant dopamine every time you left click. And 99 levels, fantastic. We'll get to the plot in a minute. But also, if you have downloaded it, if you haven't yet, do it right now. I'll wait. All right, good. Thank you. Welcome back. And then if you have downloaded it, actually do the review thing in Steam. Give it the thumbs up and type words. Okay? Say, I liked it. It was great. Roibos is the man. This has improved my love life significantly playing this game. Whatever you need to do. Just actually do that.
The thumbs up
please.
help. Wish lists help. If you don't buy it, wish list it.
Yeah.
It all feeds that algorithm.
The mighty algorithm that we're all beholden to these days.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm getting back on track to saying just I'm going to hit it home that like it is basically free to make a game. It's totally democratized. There is no overlord saying you are allowed to make a video game because you have a degree. You are allowed to make a video game. Well, there's gatekeepers in a sense that you have to pay Steam $100. But there's not a gatekeeper in a sense that for whatever reason, like you feel like you're not able to make it. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, I had a background in it, so I was able to make it more quickly than you might be able to. But you can figure it out. Like you're if you're listening to this, you're probably a person who knows how to use a computer, and you can download some programs. Like I made the art in a free thing called Piskel, which now that I've said it out loud sounds like a joke program that would be in like a GTA game. Mm-hmm. And all the art is just like it's basically like I made it in Minecraft. It's all voxel art for those little spaceships.
I've got the little spaceships pulled up here right now. What about like animating? Because like you had to have like little like pixel explosions. You had to have like the cool laser beam and that exploded. Like,
oh, that's true. You know what? Those were like stock Unreal things.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I used a lot of just stock stuff. And a lot of some of the sounds were just stock sounds that had like effects on them that were just like, okay, I'll make it echo a bunch. Okay, now it's my sound because I made it echo.
Yeah.
And anything you like buy from the Unreal Marketplace or that comes with the Unreal Engine, you have rights to that. That's yours. It's yours to keep, buddy. Go do what you want with it.
Demir here in Chatgang asks, why did you pick Steam over something like Itch.io?
It's on Itch as well.
It's on Itch?
Yeah, it's also on Humble. Just for that reach. just for it to go everywhere.
Mhm.
But Steam is just, that's kind of where you go, right? Like that's when you know you're really making a game. Not that there's anything wrong with itch. I put it on itch as well. But it was kind of my goal to go on Steam. Whether or not that's a good goal, it's just something that made me feel special, like I'd made a real game.
No, I mean you did make a real game, man. Like you've got some
But I needed to
humility
feel like
issues
it.
we need to hammer out
I'm
here
trying.
because you
I'm
gotta
being humble about it.
internet bravado. It's all about confidence and
If I was typing, maybe it would be like
yeah,
that.
is that what it is?
But I have to look you in the eye.
That's fair. That's fair. To be fair, I have a problem with hyping my own shit too. You know, like I'm okay like hyping other people's stuff, but when it's
I'm setting the bar low.
yeah, yeah. No, you don't want expectations to get too high for your game, and then people go play it, and they're like,
You're
oh,
like, oh, I thought this was gonna have blah blah blah.
yeah, yeah.
I thought this was a roguelike. It says it in the description.
But that's the thing is
Like,
like Domir here is like it's okay to brag about finishing a thing that you did on your own. I mean, it really is. I mean, this really is like an impressive feat. Like I said, I told a way too long story about my experience like with games, and it's, I mean, finishing the project, that's such the hardest part, especially with like video games. Writing is super saturated. Video gaming is super saturated. There's a lot of saturation. Content creation on YouTube super saturated. You know, like
yeah,
there's a lot of saturation to our digital lives these days, and so the fact that you're capable of finishing something that took 9 months, you know, like that's a lot of discipline. You know, like you that's commendable. I think a lot of people could see that.
I think the biggest part is of it just being such an endurance thing. Where it's like I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I took on the work of 5-6 people
Mm-hmm.
and got it done.
Yeah.
Finally. And then I finished it and I'm like, okay, now what?
Well, I mean that is a. I was gonna wait for the question for now what or what's next, but you said it yourself. Like, well, now what?
I'm not gonna make any video games for a while.
Really?
That was a little too that was a little too much for me. I've got some ideas. Like I had an idea for a thing, and then I sat down and started making it and looked at the blank project and I was like, not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
What about
Not
what
yet.
about what about what about one shot two? What about a PvP mode?
The second shot.
Yeah, the second shot.
When I was trying to get it on the Nintendo Switch,
Mm-hmm.
which I've tried so many times, I gave up. That's what I was pitching too, because they're like, "Oh, what is your multiplayer stuff?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Here's some ideas for what it would be for multiplayer, and here's what I'll add for Switch." And then I had all these neat ideas, and then it was like, it's like, but we don't want that. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't think I would go back to one shot.
You want to go? You one shot stuff?
It's gone as far as it can. It's really like, I feel like it's been stretched as much as it can be. That phyllo dough is nice and thin. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to tear it. You know, that's it.
Fantastic cooking meme. I love it. Yeah.
But it's gone as far as it can. I'd want to do something new anyway. Like that's not exciting to go back to something that's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when here, it's like if you finished like a model or something, you just put it on the shelf and it's there it is. That's that moment in time. That's that thing I made.
Yeah.
I like it how it is. I'm not going to go touch up that little spot because you know what? It's a nice little time capsule
Well,
of when I could paint like that.
You're not wrong. Like I have like 120 old skeleton warriors.
Yeah, and you don't want to like go back.
I'm not
and
going back and painting them. Are you fucking kidding
Yeah,
me? I've got a bunch
exactly.
of new ones here that I'm
They
putting
are
together.
what they
I'm gonna
are.
paint
Yeah.
these instead. Why would I go back and paint all the ones I've already painted? I want
Oh
to
yeah.
work on these new ones.
I don't have any models here. This used to be where I painted, but then baby started sleeping in this room, so I'm like, I would have done the same thing, but I almost like reached over and like, oh wait, that's just empty space now.
Choose your only adventure that you can only go through once. Yeah. One opportunity, one shot. Yeah.
I've
Way to
thought
go.
about doing like choose your own adventure, visual novel type things, just because that seems like
There's a
not
lot of
because I like those things, but to do like some stupid variation on it and maybe a one-shot visual novel.
to be fair, so you do have a story in there, and the humor is like pretty tongue-in-cheek fun. Like there's you're basically working for like the way you go in and like you sort of
The Galactic Federation of several planets.
yeah, there's a galactic federation like they're fighting some dirty insurgents or whatever, and they're like, actually, we just live here, and they're like, no, they're insurgents. Like there was a whole, um, I don't want to put my spin on it, but I guess why don't you tell me what this? There was a story in wonShot. You could have not had that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. It was. Here's the thing. It started out as tutorial messages. Like I was like, okay, so there's gonna be a little dude who tells you how to, to click the left mouse button.
Well, even there,
And
you
then I
had
was like, well, what if he said something funny?
Well, yeah, you had the boss, and the boss was like
Yeah.
you have to explain within the meta of the game why you only have one shot. Well, you only have enough
Yeah,
money
exactly.
to shoot it once.
Yeah,
per day.
yeah. Well, no, there's budget constraints.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't have the money. It's just they don't want to spend it.
Right.
They got plenty of money. It's just, well, it's a really big laser. You probably only need to fire it once because it costs about $6 billion to fire this thing. Because I actually thought about this because I was thinking, it came from me thinking about like, how much did it cost to shoot the Death Star laser? That must have been really expensive. I know you blew up a whole planet, but there's got to be more cost-effective ways to do that. And then I applied that kind of stupid logic to this, where it's like, okay, they don't want to spend the resources to do it too often, and it's just this. It's like corporate America kind of thing, where like, oh yeah, there's cake in the office today after you're done murdering people.
Well, it just there was the tongue-in-cheek quality to it all. So that was like kind of born after the fact, like after like you had you were like, well, we got.
Oh, totally. It was a tutorial thing, and then I don't remember if someone literally asked like, how come I only get to shoot it once? Like, well, one, because the game's called wonShot, and two, here's a stupid in universe reason. There you go. Budget constraints.
See, that's that's so much. That's so funny. It makes it feel so video gamey though. I now have this question where if like the best video game ideas ever come from like the having to self-justify fun mechanics.
I know, yeah.
Like Metal Gear
it's
Solid.
It's more funny trying to justify it.
Yeah, well, like Metal Gear Solid, like we've got gamer T-shirts upon gamer T-shirts of like eating food off the ground and all kinds of like video game tropes, right? And my
just
brain
makes me think of.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What was that? Gosh, there was like a web comic that was like VG Cats, and they were making fun of gamer shirts. It said, and the shirt just said, "Oh wait, no, it was a Penny Arcade thing where they said like, oh, wouldn't it be really funny if our shirt just said, you press forward to walk in a video game, but in real life you got to put one foot in front of the other. Isn't that funny?" But their joke was that is cringe, not that they weren't really making that joke, because that is the kind of joke they would probably make these days.
It's true. Well, the one VG Cats I always remember is they did a bunch of bro like puns. And so it had a Brosidon, god of the Broshan, and it just like fucking lost my mind. It was like the fucking funniest thing, the VG Cats.
I remember liking VG Cats, but now I can't remember a single specific VG Cat.
Yeah, it's like VG Cats.
Like I was trying to pal around with you and be like, yeah, I remember that one. I'm like, oh, I can't remember any of them. I remember what the characters look like. They look like webcomic characters.
Because you laugh at it and then it like doesn't store in the same part of your brain. Yeah. Penny Arcade I remember a lot more substantially because they're not like laugh on like completely lose your mind funny. They're usually just like, that was funny, and then you click.
Yeah. Then you go to their merch store, or you
bought Penny Arcade merch.
No, I don't think it. I don't know if I've interacted with anyone who has, and I don't know if I want to.
I mean,
looking at you, anyone in chat who's bought
you're
Penny
all being
Arcade
silently
t-shirt.
Judged right now for your Penny
Arcade. If it's
Arcade.
PAX, that's different.
If you have
literally
PAX
Penny
is
Arcade,
sweet.
the comic would be weird.
PAX is sweet, especially because the focus on the indie developers.
Yes.
So I mean, you mentioned.
But I didn't get to go to PAX.
No, don't worry.
I think I applied to do it, and I scrambled 2 hours before, and obviously did not get in because they have like AA indies that do that.
Yeah, like fucking Hollow Knight and shit, where you're
Yeah.
like, okay, it was
Yeah.
made by 6 people,
Yeah.
but it was 6 industry titans, each who was
Yeah.
a paragon of their job at a previous AAA company.
Sure. There really needs to be a better term for like, okay, indie studio, but not indie like one dude in his bedroom trying not to be too loud while the kid sleeps.
Well, or like a original like id Softworks, right, where it was like 6
Sure.
friends in college in the one dorm room programming one of the greatest games of all time. I don't know how much you get into like dev culture and the stories of how games
A
were
little
designed.
bit.
Yeah.
I don't get too. I don't know. I'm one of those people who like I don't know the names of anyone in the bands I like. That's an example.
That's fair.
Like I don't get too much. I don't care too much about the artists. I care about the art.
Really?
And you can. I don't know if that makes me a bad person.
See, I know this.
But
I
if
know
that's the worst thing you
stories.
can say about me, I guess I'm doing okay.
No, you're not too bad. No, I see. I know stories better than I know names. First, like, so I get it, but like I understand. Like I tend to know like the stories of the thing, and I just can never remember the names. So like but that's very human. Like humans, we process and
Yeah.
we digest. Like we think of narratives and stories. That's how that's what rhetoric is. It's digesting a story that explains some concept, right?
Yeah. It's why some folks speak in parables.
Right. Or yeah. So my dogs are going off again. Why?
I'm not hearing it, so
Good.
just power through it, man.
Yeah. All right. It's still distracting. Like you don't hear it, but I totally do. So you had this like narrative, and like you said, like it sort of was like backfill to the tutorial, but there was this moment where I was like, is he being more clever than I think he is? 'Cause
Probably
you mentioned
not.
like doing a well, yeah, you mentioned like doing a choose your own adventure like story or whatever, and there was a point in time where like the tutorial explained that there was a new like villain, and I refused to shoot the villain because I'm like, nah, man, like I'm just gonna keep shooting like these other spaceships. I'm not gonna shoot
Oh,
the
yeah.
rebel leader.
I never even considered anyone would not shoot that guy because it was the first one.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm sure you'll just shoot him because you want the points, right?
No, I
I didn't
refused.
consider anyone not shooting him.
I cleared the stage, and so I thought like it was like a way to end up on an alternate for the next like 20
No,
levels or something.
it's not Star Fox 64. Sorry. That would have been cool.
That's what
But
it
no,
was. My Star
because
Fox instincts were kicking in. Yeah.
Yeah, because that dude just ends up becoming a normal enemy type who does the whole he'll go a certain distance and then just phase out. So you got to be quick.
So you had to program in essentially like the movements for all the ships and stuff too.
Yep. So I didn't animate anything. Well, okay. It depends on your definition of animation. But all of that movement of the spaceships is totally just procedural. It's just, and they have different sets of behavior where it's just like, once you spawn in, pick a direction, go that direction for some randomized amount of time, and turn some random angle, and then go that direction for X amount of time. So it's super simple, but it works because it just then makes it look like they're all just flying around doing aerial maneuvers.
You're doing the thing Kenny did to me on my show a few, I don't know, it might have been a month ago now. Hey GM Kenny, where he talked about how easy it was to just paint all of his Soulblight Gravelord's army to
Sorry, am I
like content, like to just brush winning levels of great of like just great painting, where like he's gonna go out and win like hobby awards for like, oh, it was just so easy, I did all this. But like you're kind of downplaying how putting in all those granular details together,
I'm downplaying it because part of my soapbox is that you could do it.
You could do it.
Anyone can do it. Like you just have to think about what needs to happen and then Google it. Like that's 87% of development work is you're smart enough and know enough about the problem to know what you're trying to do and put it into words. I put a step in there where like I try just blindly to do something with the software just because failure is a good teacher. Then you Google it.
Yeah.
And then someone else has figured it out and you can implement that in your own way. Hopefully that doesn't, kind of reveal the man behind the curtain too much, but that's what it is.
But
it's
go ahead.
You could sit down and figure this out.
I mean,
and by you, I mean whoever's listening to this.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not like, I mean, you're not wrong. I've had enough I've done enough programming to know even when you're doing the, lines of code thing. The joke is that 80% of the job is just Google searching the solution. Because
Sure.
like someone
But you
will
still
have a
to be
literal
smart enough to know what to Google.
Yeah, like someone will have like a literal, like if you're doing like HTTP shit or like, whatever it is you're working on, like there's a line of code somebody has that they're like, this is broken. Like if you just insert this, then you do this. And if you know that this references this name of the thing that you're specifically working on, then you need to put that in double quotes. And like that fixes the problem. And you're like,
oh yeah, you missed a semicolon.
yeah, like, but that happens. I mean, I've worked enough on some web admin shit, and all my buddies, I often make the joke that instead of going for English Lit, I should have went for Comp Sci, and I just didn't. Even though every one of the friends I hung out with in school and in college were all computer science majors. I'm like, well, why didn't I switch majors? Because I could always go back and just write by myself. And then they kind of like pulled the curtain back and they're like, yeah, you learn all these like concepts and architecture and stuff like that, but then you usually end up working for a company where you're working with some proprietary software anyway, and then you're just dealing with the proprietary thing, and that's its own like sort of separate can of worms that you just either have to learn entirely anyway, or like the sort of like the code monkey days are kind of receding a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? That comp sci degree isn't permission to go be a programmer. you could just I don't know, do like what, Khan Academy, is that still a thing? Code Academy, Khan Academy, whatever. Get the concepts down. Like,
yeah.
And if it's Unreal, they have a whole bunch of tutorials on their site. They want you to use it because they want a cut. If you happen to make a bunch of money, they want a cut.
Yeah, if you strike oil, they want to cut.
Yeah.
Like quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Quality
is a very smart business.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like it is very smart business to give people at a certain clip free access to everything, and then take money from the whales. Almost like that should be a business model for a bunch of companies out there that put stuff behind paywalls unnecessarily.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why you get a free student license for all the 3D modeling software, because you've learned to use their software. You didn't, I mean, in some sense, you learned like the concepts and you can use whatever program you want, but you're hooked into this ecosystem, and now it's like, okay, well, now you're out of school. Go tell the company you work for you know how to use 3ds Max, so they need to buy licenses for 3ds Max, which is a modeling software.
Right.
And I did not use any real modeling software because I do not know how to 3D model. That's like my biggest kind of void in knowledge.
Well, that would be where like your next game jam, you'd like have a 3D modeler come on with you or something.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to share all those profits,
Sure, right.
Don't want to share that $0.
Yeah, you're in this for the money. It's all a big grift, just like me.
Yeah.
That's why I make
gosh.
Warhammer content.
I've heard that it's really hot right now, the Warhammer content
scene.
Well,
the thing is you get it on it early so that if it takes off, you were on the inside track. But by the way, when it takes off, the recency bias is it's going to be only the hugest people will rise to the top, and then the new people who are like riding the wave will rise. No, it's not the cream. It's all skill is such the minority necessary component of being successful. It's not even funny.
It's a lot of luck.
It just is.
A lot of luck. A lot of hard
aligning.
work.
Timing is huge. And you can't really like predict timing.
You can, yeah. I mean, you can help yourself out as much as you can, but it's like it's like Tom Brady said, something. I was really lucky that who was the guy? Who was the quarterback that he replaced? Who got
or whatever?
Who got completely drilled and had to go to the hospital, and that's why Tom Brady became the new quarterback. It's like, it's all because of that good luck.
Yeah.
There's plenty of quarterbacks who are probably pretty much as good, but when you put someone in that situation, they kind of activate. Anyway, totally unrelated.
No, I think there is something to like. I think hard work, talent are requisite. You know, like everyone at a certain point has some amount of like hard work. Like you're just doing that, and that's what you're doing if you're even in this clip. If you're here to begin with, you already have some modicum of talent and hard work you've put in. Which, it's not that like, you know, we have this like narrative of like it's the person who does work the hardest that like, you know, gets the rewards. And it's like not really, you know,
not
like
all the time.
It's like usually it's just people like are kind of always working hard constantly across the board everywhere, and then it's just luck is the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Was it Bledsoe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hotspur. Yeah.
Blood soaked ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to bring it back.
You did get a Warhammer question here. Okay. Are you ready for this?
Uh-oh.
Who would have fit better for Khorne, Lionel Johnson or Sanguinius?
What?
I don't know.
I don't know. Are you asking me that?
I guess this seems like a 40K
Is someone asking me Warhammer things?
This is a 40K Warhammer question, no less.
Did someone Google random 40K words?
Sanguinius because he's the Blood Angels leader. Next question.
I'm confused by that question.
It's a weird question.
Who's Lionel?
Lionel Johnson is the leader of the Dark Angels, as I recall.
Okay.
Not that I know anything about 40K.
Is that from that space game?
That's the space game. It's
that
the space
dumb
game.
Space one?
Yeah, the weird space one. Yeah, I
That's
agree.
weird. Isn't that something that like alt-right people play?
I mean, kinda. It's not exclusively for the
only
like
weird
fascists.
Cool dads play AOS. Richard Spencer fans play 40K.
Damn, coming in like.
Don't at me.
So if people want to look up this video game you made, how would they find it on the internet?
You can search wonShot on Steam, and don't review bomb it because I said that your game is I don't know. I don't actually really feel that way about Warhammer 40K. I'm just trying to be. I'm being flippant because it's not really for me.
No,
I used to love it when I was 11. And that sounds like I'm being mean, but I'm not.
No, I grew out of 40K too. I
yeah,
get it.
It's
too late, says Hades. No, it's fine. So, you
and it's one shot with a WON, like you won the game by shotting.
There you go.
It's a very clever pun.
Just to reset a little bit, you said like anyone can code, anyone can make a game. It felt like for a time the industry was moving towards like gating people behind like degrees, gating people behind like company, like just trying to make it prohibitive to learn how to make a game. And do you have any speculation on like what changed or why you can just like get Unreal for free and then go to try to make a game? Like, do you know? Do you have any conspiracy theories or anything like that on what happened or where the changing of the guard occurred? Because for a time it did, to me, feel like it was getting very prohibitive to make games. I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it really started with, at least in a mainstream sense, with folks like Jonathan Blow, who made what's that game? The time travel mechanic game. Braid.
Yeah.
Games like Braid, where that was a one-person team, mostly.
There's a really good, I think it might still be on Netflix, documentary. I think it's called Indie Game. It's about him. It's about the two who worked on Super Meat Boy. It was
Yep.
a two
I was
person
gonna
team
say
for Super.
Super Meat Boy next. Yeah.
Yeah,
Though
go on.
teams like that, they broke out of that system and proved you could make something commercially viable.
Mhm.
There was definitely people before who were making go on Newgrounds, right? I mean, it's full of
Little flash games and
one dude making a flash game, and
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's where the Super Meat Boy guys started. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a historian of video games, but it kind of started in that era, and then there was just kind of this explosion of 1, 2, 3, 4 person teams making these mega hit games, and still it happens today. Like,
Well, Undertale comes to mind with
yeah, exactly.
with Toby Fox is kind of like the most recent. I know it's like 2015 is like ancient history in the internet, but it still feels recent and
Was it
relevant.
that long ago?
Yeah, I know. But
God.
yeah, I know. But like
I
we did lose basically 3 entire years. So,
yeah.
adjust for like
So
it's more like it
it's
was
still
like
2017.
yeah, it's still 2017, so it's more like 2 years ago, right? So, um, but yeah, like, but that took him like I think something like 6 years to make because he's got a full time job and he's working on it, and he did do
Yeah.
all the music rather than like buy the assets and stuff. So
Yeah. I s- I read up about how he made his music too, and I was like, oh, I could do that. I'm like,
and you're like
no,
nah,
I
you're
can't,
like nah.
because what he said, and might be misquoting him, and it's gonna be
Paraphrasing.
another thing that someone ats me about. Is he just found like random free, like royalty free bleeps and bloops and just mixed them into songs
Uh-huh.
because that's how he figured out how to do it,
Yeah.
and then made some bangers,
Well,
some
like
absolute bangers,
yeah, yeah. Chip
just
tunes
out of
right now are
random stuff.
chip tunes right now are like are pretty. There's like sort of a whole like sort of cult of chip tunes going on right
Yeah,
now. Um, well,
the kids are into it.
like Monty Ohm did Ruby in like Poser 4 or something like that. And I think that there is a culturally speaking a movement back toward like the sort of DIY digital. If I can frame it as such. If I can invent something. DIY is a concept that everyone knows, but like this DIY digital migration where we're trying to like remember how to like the best video games of all times or like the ones that are like completely ingrained in people's minds usually aren't these like big bloated inflated projects. you know no one's going to care about Madden 2020 blah as like the best game of all time. It might be
Yeah,
the best version of Madden that you've ever played, but it's never, no one's, that's not the game that you're like, this game changed shit. This game came out and it like was the game of its era or the game that defined a genre. Like we're not really seeing that like with indie games, and I know like we've already sort of mentioned the kind of difficulty in that term because are you really an indie game if you're like
yeah.
six paragons of a AAA studio?
It's
Um,
another one of those fake words
yeah,
to try and categorize an uncategorizable thing.
right, but without having an alternate definition, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw indie game back out there. Um, but like it does feel like you get a lot more innovation from the indie side of things right now in video games.
yeah,
Like,
because
well,
I
go yeah,
mean,
because why? Go on. No, this is no. I think this is
because the probably the bigger part of it is if you're a really indie -1A developer, you're not really thinking you're going to make money one way or the other, right?
mhm,
But if you're a AAA studio, there is risk involved. You got to pay all these people, and you don't want to put out a stinker or some weird game that 100 people are going to buy, and then your whole studio collapses. You
right.
can't pay the electricity bill anymore, and a bunch of people are going to be collecting unemployment checks. So you can't. It's about being able to take risks. um there's not any real innovation without risk.
Right. And the
and
go ahead.
I didn't have anything to lose. So, not to say that I made some, genre-defying masterpiece, but someone like me or you, it doesn't have anything to lose,
That's
right?
ambitious.
I got
Yeah.
my day job, whatever. I'll make something cool that I think is awesome and put it out there. And maybe it is amazing and it makes me some money, but it's probably not going to. And either way, my life hasn't changed all that much.
Mhm.
And it's having that kind of attitude probably lets you innovate a lot more or do something that's more niche. Like I don't need to sell 1,000,000 copies to make my money back.
Yeah.
I need to sell 120.
Right.
So there's that as well, where it's like you can make something that now is super niche, but because that niche really loved this thing, they're telling all their friends about it, and it's not niche anymore.
Right.
Like this whole explosion of like wholesome games. No one cared about wholesome games or was making wholesome games, 6 years ago,
I
except
had a
for Animal
Sesame
Crossing.
Street game that would disagree with you when I was
Sure.
yeah.
Okay,
No,
but the new kind of way we look at wholesome
I know what
games
you're
as
saying.
they're like marketed to grown-ups. It's not like a kid's property. It's just a game that's more about chilling.
Yes.
It's not a game about murdering people. It's a game that's got some positivity.
Stardew Valley sticks out in my mind, like
Yeah, something like Stardew Valley.
Animal Crossing, yeah.
Yeah, but the indie versions of those, yes, I understand that Harvest Moon exists.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that they invented that genre, but there's been an explosion of indie wholesome games. There's even like that
Even
wholesome
Undertale.
con.
Even Undertale, I think, is a wholesome
Yeah,
game.
things like that, and it's and that. I mean, a AAA studio would have made a game like that. Like, no, people want to shoot other people in the head, and then call them slurs. Like that's what how we make our money. But instead,
God,
it's
I
like
hate that so much.
it's someone, but instead, some like 3-4 people were like, "Oh, I want to make this, positive game about 5 gay dinosaurs at summer camp
Based wouldn't
who
play that
are
game. 10 out of 10.
who are trying to come to terms with the end of civilization." Like, oh, okay,
I
but that is
10 out
gonna
of 10
blow
would
up
play
and
that
people are
game.
gonna
That
love it.
sounds amazing. I like.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
Like, yeah.
And yes, that is a real game. I forgot what it was. What was it called?
It's what is
And
it?
I don't know if all the dinosaurs were gay. But yeah,
I'm asking my producer right now.
there's someone in my earpiece.
Jurassic Yas. Is that it?
Jurassic something. Anyway,
Yeah.
but that is to say that like it created its own genre of those types of games that are inclusive and positive and made by cool people for cool people.
Yeah, no,
And I don't know how I got to that.
I don't know. I mean, inclusivity in video games, I think, is a huge component of it. I mean, you talked about anyone can make a video game. That means anyone's starting to make a video game instead of a bunch of toxic, office job, bro gamers or brogrammers, you know, thinking that video games just mean the shoot the people, power project, and fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong. Like, Bloodborne is like super AAA. I think From Software has been pretty steadily a strong, like, since Tenchu Stealth Assassins. Like, they're a real company. They're not. You can't give them any indie cred. Like, one of my favorite games of all time is Bloodborne. Like, I absolutely there's a lot of murder in Bloodborne. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know. There's just, for me, like, video games that hit a range. Like, I played Gris the other day, like a couple weeks ago.
I think it's Gris.
It's Gris. It's French. I know.
I hear a lot of people say Gris, and I'm like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
on.
No,
I get it, but
no, I played Gris, and which is really interesting because it almost feels like a double entendre for grief, which I think is what the game very much is about.
yeah.
And to have games that express other emotions than just like power projection fantasies of shoot you, kill you. I mean, we're now seeing games. I've always maintained that video games are an emerging art form, you know, but there's that period in time where like every new artistic medium has like gets sort of like hazed and has to prove itself. Like as
Yeah.
new art, like people don't like to talk about it, but Socrates criticized the written word. Like, actual think about like a time period where somebody was like, books aren't art, okay? And that person who said that was Socrates because he said that books are destroying the oral tradition of storytelling.
Yeah, I was
He
about
was
to say, is that why?
he was basically saying that like that books don't properly like encapsulate the
Yeah.
oral like
You can't emote.
right. So like art is ruined. Storytelling is ruined because you can't like project and emphasize, and when you're telling your weird fairy tales about things, like you can't command and so that ruins stories. And every art form has gone through this hazing period of being told that it's not real art. It happened with film.
Yeah.
The first few like films were just like, can we do this? Just filming a train moving, just filming a horse running, like like just stuff like that. And they started to like put narratives to it. Then they got experimental with it. And video games have gone through that time period, but I feel like they stagnated at an accelerated pace too. It took us a while to go from like films being art and developing all the emerging art forms and experimenting with them to like get to the Hollywood stagnation of film.
You mean Marvel movies?
Well, no, it happened before that.
Yeah.
The movie theaters almost died in the 60s. Like film nearly died in the 60s as television got put into people's homes and Hollywood got comfortable with just like kind of putting out stuff because they had a captive audience of like, if you want to watch a movie, you're going to watch these 3 movies. They didn't have to make anything good. They didn't have to innovate. In fact, at that time period, the film studios owned the movie theaters, so they only had to show their own films. And so if you had your movie theater in that town, people only get to see Warner Brothers films. That's all they will ever see. And video games like kind of like learned the worst. I feel like they learned the worst lessons from Hollywood. That sort of studio era of Hollywood, which is like you have a captive audience, so just give them what's going to make money. And I feel like we accelerated to that. We had the can we do this experimental? We had the simulator phase, which is like early video games were just simulations of or simulacrums to be more complete, or simulacrums of real things. Like a tennis game, a flight simulator, and then you had stuff like Zork in the corner, like over here being like, this is a simulacrum for Dungeons and Dragons. Don't tell anybody. And then we had these, like, as that happened, then suddenly we get like plumbers running right. Why the fuck is the plumber running right to save a princess in a castle? We don't know. We don't care. It doesn't need to make sense. Like, get into the experimental phase of video games where like the mechanics and the gameplay and the fun and the colors, right? Like I remember like, they had the more limited color palettes in the 8-bit and 16-bit and 32-bit eras. But like because they had those limited color palettes, kind of a little bit what you were talking about with your pixel art, they really had to maximize it, right? And then we got to what I call the dirt shooter brown and gray era of just like
2004 to 2015.
chest high cover as far as the eye can see, all the shooters of just every landscape is chest high, every color palette is washed out gray and brown, like just the even if you think about like Doom, one of the holy trinities of video games, right? Like Doom was colorful. It was dark, but it was colorful. Like how did you do that? It had these labyrinthian designs, these mazes that like you would draw them on a paper, like the sort of mindfuck maze that you would love as a kid with your pencil, tracing your way through it and actually getting confused. They did that with their level design, right? And then like we washed away from that sort of what I would call the experimental era of it. Games didn't really need to make sense. They were just honing in and refining their craft from the 80s through the I'd go as back as the 70s with the arcade era, the original arcade era. We had a 90 revival because of fighter games, but going back through like that sort of like what I would consider the experimental era, the 70s and through the 90s, and then they kind of stagnated in the early 2000s and on into the teens. And I don't think we shook that mold basically until indie games, for lack of a better term, until Braid, until Super Meat Boy, until, quite frankly, Xbox Arcade. And I own more Sony products than I have owned Xbox products, so, understand that if I had a bias, it would be skewed towards Sony and not Xbox, but credit where credit is due. The Xbox Arcade era, and then Steam kind of parallel to that, was really where gaming, to me, the defibrillator pads came and just pow on its chest, and it got the shock of life, because if it hadn't, it would have just been like, you're playing what's in our studio. The Hollywood worst lessons learned, this is what you want, and you're going to play it because this is what we're offering. And that's what AAA gaming is still doing. But thankfully, we have these other avenues.
Yeah, and it's getting, AAA is getting more and more like that every day. It's getting more and more consolidated too.
Well,
because it's risky. It's expensive. So there's only a few huge companies that have the money to take on that risk.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
so
1,000 teams of 1,000. Millions, and it's like the video game industry, by the way, is like tenfold the film industry in terms of size. Like, it's just outrageous. It's bigger than all professional sports combined. Just to put it in perspective, when people make fun of like sport, I'm wearing some sports ball gear right now. I'm not wearing it to like advertise sports ball. This is my favorite hoodie. It's loud and obnoxious. Look at all these colors going on. I've got a cartoon character for a Milwaukee Buck. This is Bango. He's got a basketball. It's adorable. Look at this cartoon. This is great. I'm wearing this because this is just one of my comfy go-tos. It's loud. It's obnoxious. I love it. But like, sports ball nerdery is sort of like the dominant status quo. But when you look at the profits and the ubiquity of it, sports are in the minority. I would love to do if I were still a games journalist, I would look into how much money the actual Madden, FIFA, all the video game franchises bring in that are sports games versus their actual counterparts. And we'd have to like sort of solve for zero and like remove the sort of parts where they cross-pollinate and share profits, right? Like, because you might buy merch because Madden video game.
Yeah.
But
that'd be a fascinating thing to look at, actually.
Wouldn't it? Like, what actually
are those people sports fans who are playing the video game, or is it people who just play the video game and don't care about going to an arena or whatever?
How much money do they make off of TV deals and arenas versus video games and DLC? Right? Like, I feel like that would be like the solve for zero, right? That would be how we would. Like, what's the most charitable way to be like how the physical sport being played making money versus the video game industry? And as a hypothesis, I hypothesize that video games, even within sports ball, just sports ball video games make more money than physical sports right now.
That's a bold claim.
Isn't it?
I don't know.
I know for a fact the video game industry in totality makes more money than all sports.
Are you solving for sports being live sports basically being canceled? Because I'm sure it skyrocketed because of that.
We'd have to omit 2020, 2021 from our data.
Kind of like how we're all gonna do for all of our lives. Just don't think about those 2 years.
Right. Yeah. Like Madden, the video game franchise, makes the amount necessary to buy a small market team a year. Makes sense to me. It's very logical. I bet you the Madden and FIFA, especially like the FIFA might be actually make more money internationally than Madden certainly does, or than the NFL does.
Probably. It's a wider net to cast.
Yeah, it's a lot of international profits. But if we just, to make this a equation I can even possibly solve personally in my like my next 9 months of this becomes like a dissertation journalist piece that I work on really, really hard, and then some fucking grognard on the internet just reacts to it as their content and makes way more fucking gets way more likes and subscribes than I fucking ever will doing real work. Be like, oh, I
Beats it
don't
and
know
goes.
about that, and they just Google search one thing and debate bro it, and rather than actually like really truly research. Flip tables. Sorry. FIFA out earned Madden by about 20,000. Oh, I mean that's not that much.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's peanuts.
I may need to switch to my phone because
Bad-
I don't know if you can hear that noise. Can you hear that
it's
noise?
like the dog.
Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
There's a sound machine.
Yeah, that's like $250,000. That's or $1/5 million. That's not that much.
That's nothing.
Yeah, that's
That's
nothing
lunch
in video
money.
games. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like bullshit money. Like that doesn't even
Fifth
hire
of
an
a
extra
million.
programmer.
Oh, come on.
Oh
We
no,
don't make
you
that
could
much.
hire like 20 programmers off of that.
Yeah, you can you can hire a lot for that.
More if you source them in from Indonesia, which is what they do right now. So,
Is it specifically Indonesia? Do you know that for a fact?
in terms
I always
of
I always
Ubisoft,
say
yes, it's
like
Indonesia.
okay.
In terms
I
of
always say
Ubisoft.
it's like Uzbekistan or something.
No, it's for Ubisoft. It is specifically Indonesia.
Oh, that's right. Yes, they opened up something there.
Yeah. You want to know the sad part? Half of the revenue is from Ultimate Team, digital non-year transferable credits. Obviously.
Oh, what
Yeah.
is Ultimate Team? Is that like fantasy?
Yeah, it's probably their like made up like video game league thing that they do. No,
I think in England they call it Dream Team.
I don't want to get buried in the weeds here. My point
Yeah.
being is that video games the industry it's larger than Warhammer will ever be.
Well, yeah.
Like in fact, Games Workshop make half. This number is verifiable. Half their profits just from licensing their IP out to digital works.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at like
I
the
don't
fact
doubt
that
it.
that Games Workshop is something like $3.566 billion, I've rounded this number up to $5 billion in the past when I talk about them because that includes liquidating their assets. They'd be around $5 billion because they've got factories and stuff that they can sell, and
They got a bunch of furniture they could auction
yeah,
off.
they've got furniture. They've got like storefronts and stuff that like is costing them money, you know.
True.
So to say $5 billion, but to like represent like how much in terms of like sheer profitability, and market share, you're looking at $3.566 billion as Games Workshop. Just Ubisoft, not even one of the big AAA's, makes what, twice that?
Not even big.
Yeah,
Make Assassin's Creed.
yeah, that's their
They're-
game. That's the one game
Yeah.
they've got. You know, this isn't a Blizzard Activision. I could look this. I can actually like instead of pulling numbers out my ass while you switch.
No, that's more fun.
While you switch things, what is Ubisoft's not market share? What do we call it? Let's check market share. Market cap 8.86 billion, so twice. That's Ubisoft. So that's twice Games Workshop's. And that's one video game company. And they're not even one of the big ones.
Yeah, I mean that's not super surprising to me, to be honest. I mean, painting little plastic army dudes is a pretty niche thing. I mean, they're expensive, but not expensive enough to.
Yeah.
It's not.
Did Games Workshop go down a little bit? They're only at 3.4 billion. Only 3.4 billion. They went down from the last time I looked it up.
Oh man!
Thanks, Artorias.
Ouch.
Yeah. No, they really are feeling the pinch of
Yeah.
of
Supply chain issues.
yeah, Brexit. I
Throwing-
guarantee you, like the bulk of that is from
Oh my
Brexit.
god, probably. Because now, yeah,
Um,
you got to scramble and figure all that out.
yep,
Oh my
they just
God.
have to pay import-export taxes more now. Like,
Yep.
yeah. Same thing. Cardboard import costs more for them now than it used to. So, like, if they make any specialty games, which is a good chunk of their market, which is specialty games because they're burst and bloom. the reason they do specialty games is because it just basically prints money for them effectively. They don't have to sustain it because it's not about sustaining.
No.
It's about growth. It has nothing to do with sustaining. As long as you're always growing infinitely, you don't need to sustain product lines. You just need to get more people to buy in that weren't buying in before. That's what specialty games are great for.
Yeah. Throw a bunch of those in Barnes and Nobles.
People are really
I guess the
excited about
specialty.
that. I don't want to shit on it. Like I buy Games Workshop stuff. See,
Yeah.
look, we're still a Games Workshop product. I'm still doing a Games Workshop podcast. I made fun of Games Workshop once.
Then you get to move. Yeah, you get to get those clicks, and then move on. Yeah,
nearly a company-wide 8.5% cost increase. That's probably like basically Brexit and something.
From when? Oh, okay. Oh, you're saying because of Brexit?
I would imagine that's because of Brexit. But from the percentage, my most recent numbers, which were 3.566 billion to 3.4, that's a 8.5% cost increase. Take everything they do and add 8.5% cost increase. Yeah, that's the Brexit factor, right? So they've been hit pretty hard. Yeah, and they maintain that they're a small company.
By some definition.
Yeah, they're smaller than Hasbro,
they're just an
I
indie
guess.
studio.
Yeah, indie studio compared to like Hasbro, not even. No, so I just want to reset this a little bit. Like, the thing I was saying, like, I really want people to put into focus is just how big video games are as an industry. Like, they are the biggest and what we call recreational dollar industry on the planet. There isn't a single thing that you spend your disposable income on that you can think of personally, dear individual, dear chat gang, random person happening by who's still lasted this long into this podcast about this very focused subject. There pretty much isn't a thing on the planet as far as like the recreational dollar, the disposable income that's bigger than video games. It's huge, and
I was trying to get a piece of that pie.
that's what it was. You made you're like, this is it.
This is it.
Day one, release wonShot. Day two, buy Ubisoft.
Or sell the rights to, or create a company and sell it to Ubisoft.
Well, that's the more realistic. Is your game achieves some amount of profitability, and then you move it to somebody because you don't even care about making that game anymore, and you negotiate yourself a sweet 3% of royalties for all sales and use of the IP and everything going forward, but you're like, hands off, this is your guys' now. Pay me my 3%. I'll never say anything about this game ever again. Do anything with the IP, and so you just get 3% of the residuals for eternity, until you die. Pretty sweet deal. And then you get to go and like make a bunch of, maybe get seed money out of them. Be like, okay, you can have this for upfront costs of like $1 million, and then 3% residuals, or whatever they think the market cost, whatever they've done their research with their overpaid teams of market researchers think that your IP is worth. And they go, no, fuck you. Or they go, we'll give you like $100,000. You go, okay, cool. So you get $100,000 payoff. You put that as seed money into your next video game project, and then you just collect like probably about 1% residuals at that point for all of eternity.
All of eternity. That means infinite money.
Infinite money, right? And yeah, for as long as they're making like mobile app versions of your game where like you can only shoot the one shot each day, you know,
yeah.
and then you have to buy like some consumable, 99 cents real cash money to buy another shot.
Or you watch an ad.
Ooh, you did this wrong, man. You did this wrong.
Yeah. Hey, I put it on mobile, but I just made it a one-time payment, and people do not buy those. No one pays 99 cents outright for an app.
No,
it's just not the market we live in.
They'll pay way more than that for a game they play 3 times.
Yeah, but you're not paying it at once. That's the psychology of it. It's very there's tricks to it where it's like, okay, yeah, but you know, buy this thing for 99 cents, this thing for 99 cents. Oh, but
Mhm.
if you spend $1.50, you get $4 worth of stuff. So you end up spending $20 on that, but you didn't want to spend the 99 cents on a game that wasn't trying to trick you into spending more money.
It's actually like now this is the downer for me because like these video game companies, they 100% know this and they do
Oh
it on
yeah.
purpose. It's so
Yeah, it's on
predatory.
purpose.
It's so
Yeah.
predatory. Um the sorry. It's just disgusting. And they do it to kids like on purpose.
I really don't like my kid is using an iPad now every now and then just because I mean it's tough when you got like
I
when
know.
school is canceled
I know.
for the however manyth time,
I know.
and then you just get them a couple of apps, oh, here's a little thing where you make a pizza. Okay, cool. Here's a little thing where you trace letters, and then it's like constantly ads.
Mhm.
She's always coming to me and she's accidentally pressed something where it's like, Daddy, what's this? And it's something how in 2 presses of a button, it's like, oh, are you sure you want to spend this 99 cents? I'm like, no, get what?
Even with all the parental features that you try to turn that
Yeah.
shit off, they still like in app will still somehow find a way to
Yeah.
access your shit. Yeah. Um no, it's I guess I want to reset this is going to be a two-part question. You said you're taking a break from video games right now, but like I mean, I guess what is the future? Because you did make a game that's pretty awesome. I really do like wonShot. Everyone go buy it right now, real quick. Do it. Maybe I'll do a giveaway, and buy someone a copy, here in the next like I don't know, let's say 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I'll get someone a copy of this game. And are you going to come back to video games? Are you going to go and do something? Because you said you really liked having an idea and making something, and or has our little sardonic conversation here like kind of spoiled it for you?
No. It'll be a while.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a while. Because that precious free time that used to be the game time
Mhm.
is now painting minis. And any other like little pockets of time that I used to kind of sacrifice to that creative monster is now trying to be more of a present parent,
Mm-hmm.
because that's something I'm really trying to improve on.
That's
Because
respectful.
I mean, that's another like COVID thing, right? Where it was like all of a sudden I'm spending all this time with my kid and realizing like, wow, I didn't really spend enough time
Yeah.
when she was, you know, a baby till 1 year old. It's like, okay, to, let's fix that up first before we make any more video games. Let's
No, I get
let's
you.
get these really important developmental years done and make the best effort possible, and then think about spending a bunch of time every day to throw something out there that maybe a year later someone will stream and think is cool.
I really liked it though.
Really liked it,
It was a lot of
and I
fun.
appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But in the cost benefit kind of thing, and
Mhm.
I know I said like, oh, anyone can make a game, anyone can make a game. Anyone who's got the time can make a game. In a cost benefit analysis kind of thing, I'm glad I did it, but I don't know if I would do it again.
Really? Well,
Not
not when you did
not
it.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the time, yes, but now I don't think I don't know. Maybe ask me again in a year.
Well, see that's the one thing I find that like is like the big barrier between like where my little passion projects are versus like others I see as my peer group. Um, the whole I got to advertise the Rantathon often and as much as possible, but this is relevant to it. The Rantathon is a joke. It's not a joke. It started as a joke. Someone made fun of my podcast for being too long. Like, and to spite them, I'm like, well, I'm going to do a 20. I did a 7-hour podcast one time. And to spite them, I'm like, I'm going to do a 27-hour podcast, 24 hours, and then make it 7 to bracket it nicely with the fact that I did a 7-hour show, right? And just to kind of spite them, and I'm like, the only way I can get away with doing a 27-hour stream anymore, because when my son was like a babby, I would do 24-hour birthday streams. So for my birthday, I would do a 24-hour stream. It would be like, I'm just gonna play. I did a what was that game called? Oh my god, I did BioShock one year. I did BioShock Infinite another year to like kind of like, because I did BioShock and then like years later BioShock Infinite came out, so like I'm like, oh, I'm going back to blah. I did Blood or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Blood Dragon. The Far Cry.
Far Cry.
Yeah, Far Cry Blood Dragon one year. Like I did a bunch of like I did The Last of Us when they had done their re-release for the PlayStation 4. They did the big re-release, so I did The Last of Us for 24 hours. So it was a tradition in my early stream days. I would do a 24-hour birthday stream, and like I hadn't done one in a little bit because my kids are older. Like I'd had kids somewhere in between. I had an extra kid somewhere in between when I had started streaming and there, so like I just it was hard to justify taking that time away from my family for my own vanity. Really, I don't get anything of substance out of streaming, in terms I do, but I don't like there's nothing to justify the time for my family. Right. And so I'm like, the only way I can do a 27-hour stream again is if it's for charity, because then I can say to my partner, this is for charity. And that's literally how the Rantathon started. And now I'm going into my 3rd year this year. But that time component is such the X factor in all of this. Like all the people I see that are like further along in like writing their like stories, making their games, streaming careers, content creation careers on YouTube, whatever it is, it's usually their time, they've either got more of it or they have less demands on it personally.
Yeah.
Whether they're independently wealthy, so like their full-time job can be content creation to be in such a gifted position, or like the big one is like don't have a family. And on one sense, you could get resentful, but I can count on 2 hands the happiest days in my life, and 8 out of 10 of them involve my children.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of times, like a young person might hear someone say something like that and be like, "Oh gosh, oh yeah, the kids, they suck up all your time and blah blah blah, and oh, it's awful. You don't get to do anything for yourself. You don't want to do anything for yourself anymore. you have a whole new purpose and a whole new a whole new reason to do anything." Anyway, now it's getting into like sappy family stuff.
No, this is way better than the doomer territory we went into before. No, I'm not one of those guys who's like, you should have kids, man. Like I hate that.
No,
I hate those people.
You don't have to.
Don't have kids. don't have kids.
Do
unless
what you want. If you don't want to, definitely don't.
Yeah, definitely don't.
Because then it's going to be miserable.
But I've always been a person who did want kids. Like I always was, and so a lot of the other stuff has to necessarily take a back burner if I want to be a good parent. If I want to be a present parent. And that's something that's a calculated decision to make. And creativity, it's sad because because you have the job that you must do, right? My kids need a roof over their heads. They need food on the table. They need all these things. So I must do the work job. And the work job isn't always congruent with the dream job that would pay me all the money, because you gotta play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky enough that they're pretty close. There's a small gap between, passion project and actual job. It's just that one extra little step of like, I want to make my idea.
Yeah, your idea. Well, I
want to be the auteur.
That brings me to an interesting question. Do you think doing a job that is that close to your job leads to some burnout when it's time to do the passion project? Does that make sense? Does my question make sense? So like you work in programming and gaming already. So when it's time to go home and I'm like, okay, cool, I got time for myself. Time to do more gaming and programming. Is there
Yeah,
like a
even
little bit of a
using the
burn?
same tools.
Yeah, is there a little bit of a
um,
burnout? Is it like, oh no, this is cool? Like how does that feel? I guess.
that's probably what accelerated the burnout. Um, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an accelerated burnout because of that. Um, yeah, there were a lot of times where I kind of like at midnight, I kind of like stopped, take my hand off the mouse, and I'm like, just spent like 12 hours
Mhm.
in Unreal Engine doing it for my work and then doing it for my passion. And then it's just like everything looks like, everything looks like blueprint nodes at
Mhm.
some point. And that definitely accelerated the initial burnout. But at the same time, it's also kind of like you get into a flow where it's
The flow
like
state. This is a real thing. Yeah.
I I'm I'm just using this software and it's like second nature.
Hmm.
Um, and speaking of family, I might need a skedaddle soon
Okay.
because of baby.
All right.
I hate to um cut it off, but
No.
I
My last question, basically, and then
okay.
I'll let you do the final soapbox and peace out. Um, the Warhammer. Then you've changed gears to Warhammer. Does that still like
Mhm.
scratch the creative itch? Does that kind of fill the cup back up for you? Like, or
Oh yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah. It always had since I was a kid. Like I mean I started doing painting these things when I was like 11. And then I did it for a couple of years and just didn't even prime things and threw slap paint on things,
Hmm.
bought random stuff and then brought it to a Games Workshop store, put it on a table and was like, "Is this an army? Can I do something with this?" And they're like, "Sure, just go over that table over there and have a bloodthirster and a Gazgul whatever in the same
Draka.
thing
Yeah.
and yeah, and just be over there." Um and then stopped for a while and then came back when I was in college because that was another time where it's like you want to get away for a second and focus on something else
Hmm.
and have something at the end of it. I guess that's what? There's that connecting thread. Just putting everything into something just for a couple hours a day and then just having something to show for it. I
Hmm.
think that's really what it is. Like whether it's a physical thing I can hold in my hand or it's something I can send someone a link to and be like, this is a thing and I made it and I'm proud of it and it's super awesome. And then that person can either move on and say, okay, or they'll also think it's cool and I've made a new friend. Um, yeah, it's a very similar thing, uh, except the painting takes way less time. I don't have to look at a screen anymore. I'm away from a freaking screen.
There you go.
I'm still focusing on a tiny thing, which probably isn't great for my eyes still, but I'm
Yeah.
away from a screen.
Well, I just I think that's a great sort of like stick the landing moment, which is playing video games for me these days without that one in like 100 games where you're like was something I do take with me,
Me.
like that video game experience where like I will hold on to this. But that's not the majority of games I play. Usually it's like meh. I think I made a friend out of wonShot, so like that's got extra substance there.
Really? You
I
call
think
me a
so.
friend?
Yeah, I'll remember you forever now, man. Like this is it's
We're gonna go hang out.
if I'm in Texas, you're in Wisconsin, sure. If we
We
end up
got
at the same tournament.
FlatsCon coming up.
Yeah, there you. Well, I can't make it to FlatsCon. Um, but no, like it's having something though at the end of it all
Yeah,
for your time, and I think that's the
yeah, and so it's such a rare thing to have. I know that, like, and it's something that when you got it, you grab onto it. You're like, yes, I've got a thing. I mean, it's maybe it's just so much in my nature, and like you said too, like you're someone who always wanted to have kids. You want to have some. I mean, not that a kid is a thing you have and own in some way, but it's like
no, but like
you want to bring things into the world.
they talk about like the millennial thing is all about experiences these days. Like where it's like we're all like,
Sure.
because I don't know, it's weird because like I feel like there's a tangible reward to the act of creation, like artistic creation, and like I guess creating life is a thing, but like anyone can like accidentally make a baby for the most
Sure.
part.
But in terms of wanting to actually like actively parent and
Right, because like
build,
watching
you're building a person.
relationship, and I'm raising my kid. I like this is, oh man, people are gonna be mad at me for this one. So when I write, I think writing is like raising a kid, because like when you write a story, you put in all the effort, all your sensibilities, everything you believe, some things you're afraid of, and you make this thing, and then you like write this story, and then once the story's made, you put it out into the world, and it's kind of like not yours anymore.
Yeah.
It's like raising a kid in that respect, where it's like I'm raising my kids with all of my sensibilities, and trying to hide them from my fears, and sometimes like they see me afraid, and then I have to be like, well, Dad's afraid of this, and then I have to like explain to them that it's okay to be afraid as long as you, blah blah, and go through all that, and then one day they're going to be 18 and they're going to go out into the world, and they're going to have to be their own person, and hopefully I've done all that front end work to when they go out into the world. They absolutely crush it, like they absolutely rock. And you know what? They don't have to like be bigwig execs or known poets or writers or whatever. As long as they come home for dinner, I guess. Yeah, or whatever. So I'm being sappy
Come
here
home
myself.
for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, come home for Thanksgiving. But yeah, man. So final soapbox. Any last things you want to get off your mind? Any thoughts that we missed on your gaming experience? Parental advice. We don't do parental advice. Never do parental advice. No. Parental advice is the worst thing to do. No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Just joking. Anything you want to say? Anything you want to get off your chest before we get out here?
Man, I don't want to keep repeating myself about like if you have an idea and want to make a game, you can do it. Just do it. If you've got any ideas, just do it.
Just do it.
Like it's yeah, just do it.
Yeah. Just do it.
But seriously, like just taking that first step is the hardest part in anything creative. You're worried you're going to fail. So what? You wasted some time. I guess you can't get that time back, but in that time you were doing something you enjoy, so who cares? That's what I'll say. Make the thing you want to make. Even if it's a one-click pixel art game.
A one-pick award-winning great pixel art game.
An award-winning pixel art game.
Yeah.
And I'll dump some codes somewhere. Yeah. Should I dump them in Discord to plug
DM
the
me,
Discord?
Yeah,
sure. I'll DM you.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm gonna do a Mephisto After Dark stream, everybody. So
cool.
And let's see, I've got 11 people in chat right now. And Cantabot.